Sideways, but I'm sideways here.
There you are. Now I can hear you.
Hello,
Hi there.
but I'm sideways. Hold on a second. We're
That's
just,
because you're on that.
but I'm sideways here too.
You look okay on this camera or on my screen.
You did something to the computer. You did something to where you are very small and I'm sideways, so it has to do with the way you have that set. Yeah, I was in two places.
Okay.
Plus I'm
This
fuzzy.
is that looking at you.
Okay, so I need to close
Okay.
this.
I'll just turn off the. Open it back up. Turn off the camera. That's all. There.
Okay, so wait a minute. Now I'm here, but I'm not visible. And I'm here and I'm not visible. Mhm. But I'm in two spots.
Are you on two machines, Cynthia?
Yes,
Okay, no worries.
sorry.
No, that's fine.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I,
Just don't worry about it.
we're not sure if one's gonna work, that's why.
Roost at 7 o'clock and we do have a quorum.
It's good to me.
All righty. I can call the roll. Director Scheibels,
Present.
Director Barclay,
Present,
Director Kennedy,
Present.
Director Haynes,
Present.
Director Williams.
Present.
Outstanding. Thank you all. Wait and call to order at 7 o'clock. Bruce, did you want to drive or do you want me to drive?
You can drive, Kurt.
Okay. Alyssa just joined us as well. All right, so first order of business is to review and approve the agenda. That was part of the board packet. If there are no questions or any additions or deletions, I just need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second, this is the most recent one you sent out late today or middle of the day today, correct?
Yes, sir. And yeah, that just had one item removed, and that was the CLA statement of work.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, who seconded that?
I did.
Oh, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next is consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of matters that occur throughout the month, and we can enact them by one motion. There are 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. First is approval of your minutes from your regular meeting of September 10th, 2024. Second is approval of the minutes from the special meeting that was conducted on October 15th, 2024. And then also the ratification of the engagement letter for the 2024 financial audit with Whipfly. And those were all part of your board packet.
I move the approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, sir.
I second.
Thank you, sir. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, thank you. Next is correspondence, and I don't have any correspondence to share with the board. Do any of the directors have any?
None.
I don't have any.
Thank you. Then we can move on to public comment. And members of the public, the board, and the district staff truly value your opinion and your input. So we ask you to please keep your comments restricted to the topics of the district and its business, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. So at this time, if there are members of the public who wish to address the board, if you would just raise your hand and then I can call on you. Any public comment? All right, thank you very much. Then we can move on to new business. The first order of new business, and I will share my screen in case anybody wants to see this. Is the annual administrative resolution. This is a course of business that we take on every year, and it just lays out roles and responsibilities for the district and its consultants. Again, I can run through it pretty quickly. Identifies the contact person for the district, talks about the budget, any current IGAs, directs the accountant to file for an audit or an audit exemption, depending on which is required. This district does require an audit just because of expenditures. Talks about public records and the Open Records Act policy, email policy of the district, identifies the newspaper, the paper of record, which is the Denver Post. We use the Green Valley Ranch Your Hub. Determines that you will receive pay for your stipends for being a director. Talks about director qualifications. On page 5, you can see it lays out the officers of the district. And so what's there right now is the current slate of officers. Just so you know, the board can elect or appoint officers anytime throughout the year. Typically, it happens following the May election. But you have an opportunity if you want to change it at any time, we can change it now. But this is the current slate of officers. Talks about the posting location for the posting of meeting notices, which is your website. Talks about meetings. And so the meetings are open right now. And that's the one question I had is typically you've been meeting 4 times a year, but we had some discussion at the last meeting that you wanted to possibly increase the tempo of the meeting schedule for 2025.
Yeah, I thought we had decided we were still going to have the quarterly regular meetings, which traditionally have been in March, June, September, and December. But I know that we're going to have, we're going to need to have some special meetings probably in January and February, probably early January and early February. But I don't know that we want to make those regular meetings, although I'll defer to the board's decision making. And I, without knowing more right now, I guess my thinking is that looking at the calendar, that maybe we should do the first Tuesday in March the first Tuesday in June, the first Tuesday in maybe the second Tuesday in September, because that's the day after, the first Tuesday is the day after Labor Day. And maybe the first Tuesday in December for the regular meetings. And just fill in those dates. But I'm open to other suggestions from the board for the regular meetings.
Bruce, Lewis here. I'm in agreement of maintaining the schedule of 4 and then as needed, put together the special meetings.
I also agree.
Great, then I will go ahead now fill in those dates for the resolution before we send that out for signatures, but we'll keep it as the first Tuesday in March, the first Tuesday in June, second Tuesday in September, and the first Tuesday in December. And like you said, you can always call special meetings whenever needed. Thank you. The resolution also talks about elections. You also have an election resolution that you're going to consider later on, but it designates a designated or identifies a designated election official and how the district conducts its elections. We will update the general obligation indebtedness paragraph here. Once we get through the budget tonight, I'll have those final figures. Let's see here. I'm just trying to see what else is stands out.
That's 2022, yeah.
And I know there was a question in the chat. This document is part of the board packet, but once we adopt it, it will also be on the website. I think it's Ms. Turner had a question, and that's where you can find the document.
I don't know what this.
I have a question about the subsection G in elections. I thought that there had been some discussion at one point that we would provide a ballot box here so that people do not have to mail in or deliver all the way to somewhere in the southern lands the ballot. So where are we with that? Because I would hate to pass this without having that understanding.
Yes, ma'am. Even with a mail ballot election, you could designate a drop-off location or a ballot box location for those folks that choose to drop off a ballot. There again, it has to be staffed, or it has to be under a watchful eye at all times. It just can't be a box that's out in a parking lot. The other option that this district has is to conduct a polling place election. And that means staffing a polling place for, that 12 hours on election day. But you can designate a drop-off location for mail ballots, should people choose to not mail them, or if they miss the deadline, if you will, to make sure that they're received in time to be counted.
So Kurt, so we can do that. We can pass this or move along this evening and subsequently designate a place later. I'm not having in mind a polling place, but certainly a discussion with the Secretary of State or Denver Elections to use the ballot box at the GVR Rec Center seems to me to be doable. So I just want to make sure that we can make a designation later.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. That will go out on the election notice. Should we have to conduct the election, that will go out on the election notice to all the eligible electors, that would be an option for them.
Yeah, and Khadijah, I don't know if the city and county will let us use one of that box out in front of the rec center, but I guess that's something we could explore.
Yeah, I don't know if they will either, but I will certainly call Paul.
Yeah. Okay.
Bruce, isn't it contemplated that Sabrina will have an office, or there's going to be some kind of an office there in the neighborhood?
Yeah, at some point, yeah, have it, so at least we could do it, have ballots dropped off at the district manager's office. That may be something we could do as well.
Yeah.
That would be best, because that way it's staffed all the time and under a watchful eye.
At least during the hours that the office is open for office hours, yes.
Yes, sir. Any other questions regarding the resolution? If there are no questions, we can entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Thank you. Next is a specific election resolution, and the district has to hold a regular election, or is tasked with holding a regular election every 2 years. The next election date is May 6th of 2025. So what this resolution does is it identifies that the seats for Directors Barclay, Scheibels, and Haynes, and Mr. Williams will expire on May 6th. And so you'll have 4 positions open. It also designates when the district will start to collect or accept self-nomination forms. Those will be accepted in January and February. And then the cutoff date for accepting those is February 28th. If there are 4 or less self-nomination forms that are received, this resolution authorizes your designated election official to cancel the election. If there are more than 4 self-nominations received for the 4 positions, then it directs the designated election official to go ahead and conduct that election as needed. And right now, the designated election official for this election is Sarah Luchin from CEGR Law. Any questions about the election resolution?
Yeah,
Not a question. I just want to make an observation.
Yes, sir.
This requires the voting to be from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. So if we plan to have something other than a drop box, such as an office for residents to go to drop off, that office will have to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
On election day, yes, sir.
Okay.
but
And
this,
then-
this does not preclude dropping or sending your ballots in before the state.
That's correct.
That's
Yeah. And on the election notice, we'll also state, like Catherine had said, is if there's a drop box location, what that location is and what the hours of operation would be, or when ballots would be accepted.
okay.
And
Okay.
Kirk, can you remind, I know my position and Cynthia's position are 2 of the 4-year terms. Which is the 3rd 4-year term?
So Ms. Haynes is also a 4-year term, and then Mr. Williams will be a 2-year term through May of 2027. The other 3 will go through May of 2029.
Okay. For some reason, I thought Ms. Haynes was also a 2-year, but that's maybe no, that's right. Because she took over Murray's, and Murray's was expiring at the same time as mine. Never mind. That's
Yes, sir.
right.
That's correct.
Okay. That explains that. Okay, thank you.
Any questions about the resolution? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Next is the state legislature, in their infinite wisdom, has modified or updated their Colorado Open Records Act policy. And so in order to stay compliant with state law, this resolution keeps it's mainly a bookkeeping thing. It specifies how much the district can charge for research, how much the district can charge for copies, and just keeps the district in line with current state law. So this was part of your board packet. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about it.
I'm assuming the attorneys agree to this and there's no interpretation issues as to when it starts, what the effective date is.
And I don't want to talk forever and a glory. I don't know if they agree with it, but it's approved to as to form.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a standard standard form resolution that districts pass, Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, it just designates who is responsible for responding when you get a request primarily, and what can be charged to retrieve records and stuff like that.
And is this effective the first of the year or immediately?
It's
Or
effective immediately upon your approval.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay. No more questions.
Okay. If there's no other questions or discussion, just need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Thank you. Next, and again, this is just a formality. It's just to discuss and authorize staff to renew the district's Special District Association membership for 2025, and also renew the district's liability coverage through the SDA property and liability pool. You currently have coverage there. In order to maintain coverage through the SDA pool, you must be an SDA member. We've already started the process of, renewing the insurance policy. The premium has not yet been paid. So again, this is primarily a formality, but just need a motion and a second to direct staff to carry out those actions.
So moved.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Next is just a voice vote or to authorize the district accountant, and that will be Sabrina and her folks at Goodwin to prepare and sign the DLG 70 certification to tax levies. I'm sorry, this is still with CLA, so it's going to be Alyssa. For the DLG 70 certification to tax levies for certification to the Denver Board of County Commissioners prior to the deadline of December 15th.
And Kurt, I just want to clarify, it's CLA because in 2024, CLA is the district accountant, and therefore their certification is what's needed. In 2025, that would then be Goodwin doing this.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other discussion, just need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Next is a resolution waiving workers' compensation insurance for 2025. So the directors aren't considered employees of the district. And we talked about this last year. You made the decision to stop carrying that workers' compensation insurance. If we choose to do that, if you choose to do that, we need to notify the state each and every year of that action. So that's what this resolution is for. Is if you approve it, is we'll go ahead and notify the state that you have opted to not be covered under workers' compensation for the 2025 calendar year.
Yeah, the only thing I would notice, Lewis's name is spelled wrong in the resolution. You're missing the O.
Oh, I will make that correction. I apologize, Lewis.
Okay, not a problem.
Any discussion?
Unknown caller.
If there's no discussion, just need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed?
Oh, I said aye. Sorry, I didn't vote. Aye.
Okay. Next then is to review and consider approval of a 2024 landscape bed enhancement project. This is just the cover email that came with the description from Mr. Morey. And then what follows that in your board packet is the actual breakdown or the proposal for the bed enhancement project. And I know Mr. Morey is with us this evening. I don't know if you want to hear from him regarding their recommendation.
I would like Al to give a short presentation. I mean, he's laid it out pretty well in the thing, but this is actually an offshoot of the litigation process, but the money has been put into the budget for this project. And it's been anticipated, but I wanted Al to lay out what the landscape committee and also Lewis and Khadija are aware of this, and Bill and Joe from TCMD were part of this project, part of this process as well. But if Al could give us just an overview of what went into coming up with the areas that were selected as part of this. And it also goes back to, if you recall, a few months ago when we had this whole discussion about the 297,000 of these requests for transfers from the capital project for this sort of handshake deal of some projects that were approved supposedly 3 years ago, and then TCMD comes to us, 3 years later asking for the money to be transferred, and we had no records of it. This is the new policy where we're trying to be much more transparent and doing an approval in this forum, excuse me, with a formal, process. And that's why we're doing it in this manner. So Al?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is a proposal to request a monetary transfer from Ebert to Town Center to fund work that we have called Phase 2 Landscape Bed Enhancement Project. What Bruce just talked about, the $297,000 project, that's what we internally in Landscape Committee have been referring to as Phase 1. And we fully expect going forward that there will be another 1 or 2 phases for some additional areas within the Metro District. What the outline that's in your packet includes is in our cover a fairly exhaustive description of the work that the Landscape Committee went through in putting this thing together. We received a list of potential projects from Brittany Barnett, who is the district manager for Town Center in 2024. The Landscape Committee reviewed that list and whittled it down to ones that we felt would have the greatest impact for what we felt would be available money. And we were targeting initially $200,000 as the amount of money that we wanted to try to make everything happen for. After we worked through our process, the final budget request is for $186,000, which includes a contingency on top of the proposal from the contractor that we're recommending do the work. We worked on this for probably about 4 to 5 months. Like I say, we cut down the number of projects that Brittany had given to us. Timberline then prepared an RFP and sent it to a number of contractors. We received several proposals, 3 of which we gave final consideration to. We interviewed all of the respondents and had a number of clarification questions for them. That took us about 3 months worth of meetings to do. In the end, we have come to a recommendation for a contractor, which is Environmental Design LLC. In your packet, they're identified as EDI. I was informed today that they've changed their name, still the same company. And the packet describes each one of the areas where work is going to take place. Fundamentally, each of the projects are at the major entrances into the Metro District from the roads off of Piccadilly. There's a little bit of work taking place in Serenity Park, which is at Maxwell and Ireland Street on the south side of Maxwell. And 49th Avenue, which is basically the main entryway into both filings 36 and 39. And those projects are intended to follow the same type of appearance in terms of completion that was accomplished with the Phase 1 projects, and give us a more consistent image in terms of these type of landscaped areas throughout the Metro District. I think with that, I'll stop. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them at this time.
I have a question. Hi, Al. It's
Hi.
Cynthia. Hey, I'm curious as to the 122,000 that you want to use for the enclave out of the 190. Why do they have 5 times more funding than our other 3 entrances? Why isn't this part of TCMD, their CRRF? Why is Ebert got to pay for it?
Well, first of all, Town Center, to my knowledge, does not have a capital reserve replacement fund. This money, it's coming from Ebert. Your assertion that this is a project for the enclave is not correct. The project lies entirely within filing 30, what is it, 35 or 36? I can't remember my numbers right offhand. It also does provide the roadway to get into the enclave, but in terms of where it's physically located, it's located in one of the original filings that was built out by Oakwood. It's in terms of cost, it's in terms of land area and amount of work that's going to be needed is significantly more than the others. That's just how the numbers came out in terms of the proposals we received from the various contractors.
So it's not 122,000 of the budget going to enclave.
Well, let me get my copy here real quick.
The quoted amount of 122,000 designated just for Area 5 on the project exhibit map, which is 2/3 of the 190.
Okay.
Is that incorrect? Has it been changed?
No, it is not incorrect. The numbers that are in the proposal, I'm trying to get to the page here real quick.
Yeah, bed 5 is for the landscape beds in filing 35 leading to filing 39.
That's correct.
And it's for
identified
East
as-
49th Avenue off of Orleans, Odessa, and Nepal Street.
That's
Right.
correct.
Where the monuments are. Is that the area we're talking about?
Yes, there are, on either side of 49th, there are 3 brick pillars, I guess you'd call them.
Monuments, they're called in the reserve study, I know.
That's correct, yes. But that is where the work is to take place.
But again, why you're saying that it's part of Ebert, that we should have to address that. It's not a special for enclave alone as a private area.
It is not for the enclave. The entire area of the project is in filing 35.
And Cynthia, this is Louis. As part of the Joint Landscape Committee attendee, we went through a detailed review of all 5 elements of this request, and this was the largest area. And it's also an older area. If you look at any number of resources, just from an eyesight standpoint, the age of the trees in that neighborhood are significant, and you can tell that it's one of the original neighborhoods. It looks nothing like the Enclave in terms of the aging, and the beds that are there were put in as bark beds, and the bark has long since blown away and the irrigation has not been maintained. And so this is one of our attempts to do what hasn't been done in the past in terms of maintain the areas. And it is within Ebert, that is the Ebert Metro District area, as opposed
Okay.
to the Enclave, which has its own responsibilities for the
So
roads.
why
and
wasn't it
sidewalks.
maintained? You just said it hasn't been maintained. Well, that's TCMD. That's not Ebert. So if the
Right.
sprinkler system or whatever has to be done, I don't
Right.
understand the cost, why Ebert District is incurring that cost for that area.
Well,
When
without going,
TCMD should have done it.
yeah, well, they should have, if they were in a process of evaluating beds, which we are now, they would have gone back and looked at it and said, well, this has to be on a list of priorities. When will it get done? And that's what we're doing now. The fact that it wasn't done before this, I'm going to just say it wasn't done. It looks poor. And it's one of the areas that we're attacking and making a difference.
Okay, so it's not included in the landscape or the lawsuit about their projects that they didn't do. We skipped that, correct?
It wasn't called out specifically in the lawsuit as I recall it. It's
But
and-
I think it's part of section 11 of the MOU, in which TCMD was to identify areas that needed upgrading as far as the landscaping. And this is part of their responsibilities of identifying areas of landscaping that need to be upgrading. And we are using Ebert funds to do that, but TCMD doesn't have their own funds to take care of it.
How convenient.
Mm.
Also, I'd just like to make a correction. There is no such committee as Joint Landscape Committee. Joint between Ebert and TCMD was dissolved a long time ago, a couple, 3 years ago. So it's just the
what-
Landscape Committee.
Okay, if you want to call it that, but it does contain elements of both Town Center and
We don't have a
Ebert.
resolution anymore that designates that, so you need to put that back in order if that's the way you want to call it. There is,
Well-
there's no such committee as the Joint Landscape Committee.
Like I say,
Just for future reference, Louis, I don't mean to argue with you, it's just to have
Yeah.
documents, if someone wants to read it in the future, it isn't part of Ebert, even though you're using Ebert's funds. So is that why you still call it the Joint Landscape Committee?
No, it's called joint because of the people that we've pulled into the analysis that Al referred to. It has members of all responsible parties, i.e. the landscapers are there, the district manager is there, both the new and the old, and the representation of the Town Center Board and representation of the Ebert Board. So it's part of the collaboration that we're trying to do going forward to make a positive difference.
Okay.
But we can change the name and change the
No,
charter.
I'm just saying that it was removed, so it shouldn't be confusing for people in the future if they go back and read it, but you're
Okay.
running it, so it's fine with me.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Maury? Or members of the committee?
Not so much a question, but a comment so that the public understands. It's not business as usual going forward with these types of projects, as Al referred to. We have a process now where we're engaged in the decision making, so it isn't made by someone and it's not documented in a both an analysis standpoint as well as who we talk to and how we get bids. And then beyond that, it's also not business as usual in the sense that we're not just putting bark beds back in. these beds are being put in with, are being restored and improved with the use of rock so that it becomes less of a future cost to maintain these beds because the rock doesn't move around as much as the tree bark does.
And one more question. So you're saying TCMD is not putting in any time or funding? It's all on Ebert now.
They are putting in time. We needed the input of the existing district manager in order to identify these areas. And then as we go forward and the work is being done in what's called an off season, we're getting a good pricing on this project because it's not being done midsummer. It's being done when their crews are not so busy. So they relented and gave us a better price on this. But
And-
no, we did use the personnel of the district manager, but the funding is coming from Ebert Metro District.
And Goodwin will oversee the contractor doing the work starting in either late February or early March, I believe.
Right.
And who's gonna oversee Goodwin?
We will.
That's a concept for later in the meeting. We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll look for a motion to,
Well, I just want to make sure. So Al, the request is for a transfer of 186,000 from Ebert's capital reserve to TCMD's capital reserve so that this project can go forward.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
is there a motion to approve?
I would make a motion I move to approve a transfer of $186,000 from Ebert's capital reserve fund to TCMD's capital reserve fund for the Ebert Metro District Landscape Bed Enhancement Project as proposed by the Landscape Committee and presented tonight.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No.
So it's 4 yes and 1 no. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, we move into financial items. Alyssa, I know we don't have to amend the 2024 budget, but would you like me to share my screen so that you can go through the 2025 budget?
Do we need to go into public hearing first? Or is that later?
We can do that once Alyssa is ready to pull it up, or if she wants me to keep that here. Yes, sir.
You can pull it up. It shouldn't be
Okay.
hard to navigate.
Just tell me where to go if I go too fast. Do you want the budget or you want the resolution?
We can go to the budget.
Got it.
Do we want to start with the public hearing, or I'll go through everything and then we'll do that?
Well, typically what we like to do is open the public hearing and present the budget, any questions from the public or the board, and then we can close the hearing and then make a decision after that. If that works for the board.
That's how I like to do it.
Okay.
I move we go into public hearing.
Is there a second?
second,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll open the public hearing at 7:40. Thank you, Alyssa.
Kurt, could you increase the size of your font or make the budget a little larger? Yes, that's
okay?
One more click, please. There, okay.
All right, so we can actually start on the next page. So first, for any of those that are unfamiliar with the format, I'll just go over the format you guys are going to see. So on every page, you're going to see the 5 columns at the top. Your column on the left is your actual 2023 numbers. Your second column is your 2024 budget. The middle column is our actual numbers as of July 31st, 2024. The fourth column is our estimated 2024 column, so what we anticipate that the end of the year will look like. And then what we're talking about mainly tonight, that last column is our 2025 budget. So starting on this page, this is our property tax summary information page. I also recommend reading this page from top to bottom. So at the top section is your assessed valuation. Then your next section is your mill levies. And then your property taxes generated from that assessed valuation and mill levies. Then this district does have another assessed valuation, specifically for debt. I believe this is the apartments. And then the same mill levy section and the property taxes generated. So starting at the top, your assessed valuation. So this is not an assessment year, so we didn't anticipate many changes here, just about a 2% increase in your assessed valuation from 2024. And then moving on to your mill levies. So the first mill levy is the contractual obligation mill levy. This is in relation to the service agreement with Town Center Metro District. So these are the revenues collected and transferred to Town Center. So we did get direction from the board to increase this to 18.5 this year. Your next two mill levies are your debt service mill levies. So these are to generate your revenue to make your payments on your 2018 A1 and A2 bonds or loans. And you will see there's a bit of an increase here from last year in order to make our debt service requirements. So we'll go into a little bit more detail on the debt service fund page there. And then your capital reserve mill levy of 1, you have been imposing this mill levy to build up a reserve within this district. And then moving down a little bit to your second assessed valuation, as I mentioned, this is pledged only for debt. So your 2018 A1 bonds, it's going to be that same mill levy that you saw up above for the A1 bonds. And then in total at the bottom, we expect with these current mill levies to generate about $8.7 million of property tax revenue. Any questions so far on this page? All right, then we can go on to our next page. This is going to be our general fund. So I'll start with looking at the last two columns. So starting with our estimated 2024 column. So I did update this a bit based on October financials. You can see property taxes, we actually have over collected what was budgeted. So we did get a little bit over 100%. And then we anticipate transferring about 2.9 million this year to Town Center. And then under 2024, this is a little backwards because we haven't seen October financials yet. The only change here, there wouldn't be a change to your total expenditures here, but I did just want to note, which you guys will see when we go over financials, that we did break out our legal expense. We did find out that some of this legal expense is actually for the professional services related to transition matters. So that will be broken out. I'll fix it on the budget as well, and we'll see it on the financials too. But it shouldn't affect your total expenditures. Then for 2025, so your property taxes generated here is going to be from that 18.5 mils. And then you have your Town Center reimbursements for the corresponding expenses down there, such as legal and district management. So from those 18.5 mils, we anticipate transferring about $3.2 million to Town Center Metro District to cover operations and maintenance expenses. And then Town Center will be reimbursing the legal, election, and district management costs. And I think the hope is that some outside revenue will come in for professional services related to transition matters. So this will leave us with an ending fund balance next year, about $344,000. This will maintain your emergency reserve of $105,000, your escrow reserve of $166,000, and you'd have about $73,000 available for operations. Any questions?
Alyssa, I did want to let you know, Shelby was able to send a revised October financial, and the transition legal expenses came just end of October, came just under $85,000 for the breakout for that time period.
Yes, and we will see that we did get those financials in this packet, so we'll go through those. But I sent this out about like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know.
So I didn't have
Yeah.
a chance to update these.
Yeah. I just wanted folks to know there was something that the Financial Operations Committee had suggested to give a better idea of what the work we've been working on with regard to the transition issues, that it hasn't been free, and we want people outside of Ebert and to know that it has not been something that that us volunteers on the Ebert board are doing gratis. And it is costing us money, and we're hoping somebody will hear that.
Understood.
Alyssa Lewis here. I just wanted to elaborate on the service outlay to town center, and it's going from an estimated 2.9 to 3.2 million. And I want to just have a general conversation or a statement here that it's going up not because of the cost of management, if you will. We selected a new district manager because A, they can do the job, and B, we got a better quote from them. The things that are moving this service outlay up are some extraordinary capital expenses related to well remediation. That is town center town center owns the land under the golf course. It also owns the wells that bring water up out of the aquifer that's used in both common areas in the district as well as in the golf course. And there's extraordinary expense associated with those in this budget. And I just wanted the general public to understand that those costs are going up because of maintenance programs that we are doing and catching up, if you will, on some maintenance as well. There's tree plantings in here that have not been in 2024. And there's also a repair to district fences that have not been done up to this point. And the district fences are really a 3-year project. So again, just a general comment on these extraordinary service outlays are not due to management costs, but to program costs or actual work that's being done.
Operations.
Yeah,
Yep.
operations, yeah.
All right, thanks, Liz. Yeah, I'm sure you've
Sure.
anticipated the questions we're gonna get.
Try to.
All right, if there's not anything else, we can move on to the next fund. So here's our conservation trust fund. So your main source of revenue here is going to be your proceeds from the state here. And then your expenditures are transfers out to town center for eligible expenses here. So we anticipate spending about $25,000 in 2024 for the design of the basketball court. And then the $100,000 is the anticipated cost of building the basketball court next year. So we'd still have at the end of 2025 at the bottom right, anticipating to have about $492,000 in this fund.
One quick question or comment on this, Alyssa. So the design is happening this year and the construction is next year. Again, for the public's consumption, I wanted them to understand this isn't just because we've got money in the bank, we decided to build a basketball court. Inappropriate basketball equipment on driveways throughout the district has been a source of fines and not levies, but a source of fines in violation of covenant controls and restrictions. And so this attempt is to get basketball courts in neighborhood appropriate areas so that kids that want to play basketball don't have to put up a net on their driveway in violation of covenants, and they'll have a place to go and play. So it's well thought out, and it's been literally years in the making. So this is a good use of this.
And that's what the Conservation Trust Fund monies are used for, is parks, basically.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, then we can move on to our debt service fund. So here's where the activity for our 2018 A1 and A2 bonds. So as I mentioned, so in 2024 our estimated column, we have over collected on property taxes in this fund as well. So you can see over budget. And then in 2025, with the current mill levies, we are anticipating to collect about $5.3 million in property tax revenue. And then making our debt service payments at the bottom, right now we would have about $6.7 million in this fund. The district would like to maintain the rate stabilization reserve of $6,636,000 here. And then right now it is showing we would have a surplus of about $76,000. So I just noticed this before the meeting. I think last year we wanted to keep the surplus at about $60,000. And when I updated for our over collection in 2024, of course, our beginning balance in 2025 went up. So that surplus did go up as well. So I think I would just ask for direction from the board here. Is there a specific number for our surplus that we're looking at? And if so, we can adjust those mill levies so that it won't exceed that surplus.
The difference between the 76,000 and the 60 that was set previously is $16,600. What type of a decrease are we talking about in mill levy to accomplish that?
Yeah, not much.
I mean, it's fractional, right? It's
Exactly.
decimals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the board had good sense and instincts in reducing it to 60,000. So I'd be in favor of trying to reach 60 again here, even though it's a minor adjustment in the mill levy.
I mean, we're going up, even though the 17 to 18.5 doesn't really add that much to at least Ebert's addition to our overall property tax burden when you consider the city and the schools and the other
Right.
special districts, but
Right.
every little bit helps. So I wouldn't, even if it's only fractional, I wouldn't mind making the small minor adjustment to make the surplus only 60.
Perfect. So once we do approve the budget, we can just approve subject to that. And we are still waiting on our final assessed valuations as well. So
Okay.
it'll be part of the final calculation.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, sorry, I missed it.
Does anyone else on the board have a different position?
No, I
Cynthia,
think
you
it's
good?
absolutely the right thing to do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then on to our next fund, going to be our capital projects fund here. So really our main source of income here is just some interest income coming in. And then this is the fund where we would transfer money to town center for any capital expenditures approved by Ebert. So in 2024, we did approve the $297,000. And then this $200,000 represents actually the proposal that we just went over earlier. So I
That's
think
going to be the 186,000
correct.
approved, right?
So we'll have about $480,000 available in this fund, even with that transfer out, probably a little bit extra since it's rounded up. I think my only question is, it has been approved tonight. Do we want to make that transfer in 2024? Or do we want to just leave it in 2025?
I don't think the work's actually going to commence until
Yeah, the
25.
work's
I'd
not gonna
leave it
commence
to-
until 2025, so.
Yeah, so let's leave it here for the end of the year.
All right, then we can go to our next fund, gonna be our capital reserve fund. So this is how I mentioned the 1 mills that have been imposed each year. So we anticipate receiving about $168,000 of property tax revenue in this fund, getting some interest income, and then no other expenses other than your county treasurer's fees. So just building up this reserve, we anticipate to have $1,169,000 available at the end of 2025 in this fund.
Okay.
All right, then the rest is just gonna be our notes. I don't know if you guys had any comments on those. I will mention the note on the keeping the 60,000 surplus is actually in there, so the note is correct. The page was just wrong, so that won't change.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go. Good. I'm good with the notes.
All right.
Me too.
Any questions from the board regarding the proposed budget? Any public comment regarding the proposed budget? Just waiting, don't see any hands raised. Okay, just need a motion then and a second to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All
Second,
in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
oppo- Okay,
Sorry about that.
no worries. Great, we'll close at 7:58 then. The only thing left then is just need a motion and a second to approve and adopt the 2025 budget, to appropriate the sums of money for the 2025 budget, and to set the mill levy for the 2025 budget year, pending final receipt of final assessed value and the adjustments that Alyssa had discussed.
So moved, because I wouldn't be able to say everything you just said.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is
Aye.
there anyone opposed? Thank you. Alyssa, I know we've got here talking about the accountant preparing the budget. Do you want to go through the financial statements and payables? And we, okay,
So I won't go through the financials in too much detail. As I mentioned, we have collected over 100% of our property taxes, so that's one thing that normally I would point out. And then I think we can just go to the next page, our general fund, just to point out what we mentioned in the budget discussions. So you can see now that there is about $85,000 that was reclassed to your professional services related to transition matters. So that was what we determined from the legal counsel, that this is work on transition matters. So for this year, you'll still see, as far as the revenue side, that this is still being paid by Town Center. So it's the Town Center reimbursement for legal line. But as we mentioned before, we just want to make this visible. There is being work done on the transition matters and see if those will be reimbursed in the future. Otherwise, I think everything is pretty status quo, just like in the budgets.
Alyssa, the statement you've made twice now that we've collected more than 100%, again, for the public's understanding, the way that happens is past taxes that are collected in this year are considered property tax revenue in this year. And is that what's going on?
Correct. And if we want to go to, you can scroll down a few pages. to our property tax schedule.
Yeah.
I think 2 more. There we
There
go.
it is.
So this shows our detail of our property taxes collected by month. And we do have a column for delinquent taxes, which is actually negative, but usually that is the reason for over collection. So maybe we'll go back or we'll ask the county there, but you have received, I mean, this is the support by month. You have received a little bit, almost 101% of your budgeted property taxes.
Got it.
And usually usually it's from delinquent years. So property taxes, you levied for in prior years, thought you wouldn't collect and then collected this year.
It could be in specific ownership taxes too, because that's related to automobile registration. Is that right?
That is related to automobile registration, but that is separately budgeted for, and that's never like an exact number. That's really sort of a percentage based on each county.
Uh-huh.
And that's a separate percentage. We've actually collected about 82% of those
Okay.
so far. If the board would like, I can reach out to the county if there's any additional explanation. It's not too much, it's 100.9%, so it's only a 0.9% over, but they're high amounts in general, so.
No, I'm not that curious. If it was a larger difference, I'd be interested, but
Yeah.
no, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Save your time for other tasks.
All right, and I think since we're on these schedules, if you want to go up one more page, Kurt, we do include our schedule of cash position. This is an update of the district's cash as of November 16th. So I think the only thing to point out here is just showing in those last 4 accounts, your UMB accounts related to your bonds, we're showing our anticipated payments, our principal and interest payments on your bonds that were made on December 1st.
Great. And so the update, the title on this page is updated as of November 16th, but you've included the December activity there for the bonds.
Correct. Yeah, because
Okay.
we get the invoices prior, so we've reviewed all of those, made any necessary transfers and correspondence with the trustee, so this did
Okay.
happen.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board regarding financials?
No. I don't have any.
Board likes to formally approve this, so if we can get a motion and a second to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. And last then is just the payables. Oop, went too far.
All right, so this top section is going to be your payments. So these are going to be your invoices processed and paid since the last meeting. So mainly director's fees from the last meeting, and then your August and September services. And then at the bottom is going to be the current payables. So these are pending. I believe they have been approved. They're just in the queue for payment. So mainly these are going to be for October services. And then we do have your 2 2025 insurance documents. So from your property and liability pool, and then from your TCW risk management for 2025 insurance.
And Alyssa, if I may ask, did you receive the invoice I sent to you for Streamline for processing for 2025?
I did. I think that was today, so
Yeah.
it's not on here.
No, I wasn't
yes.
looking for it in there. I just want to make sure you received it. Thank you.
I did, yes.
Any questions about the payables?
No. I
Hearing
don't-
none, just need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
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 Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank
Thanks,
Uh,
Alyssa.
The only other item we've got under financial items is just housekeeping, and it's to consider appointment of the district accountant to prepare the 2026 budget. And that will be the new district accountant at Goodwin. So if there's no questions or discussion, just need a motion and a second to appoint the district accountant.
I
So
move that we
moved.
appoint the accountant, I guess the accounting department at Goodwin to prepare the 2026 budget. And also to, I guess, arrange for the arrange for the audit that we'll need in of the 2025, or I guess would be the 2025 budget, correct?
Audit of the 2024 budget, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, audit of the 2024 budget, yes.
And Louis, was that a second?
Yes, go right
Okay.
ahead as a second. Yep.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, thank you very much. Manager's report is pretty short. I don't have a status report from the manager regarding outstanding items. So the only thing to discuss is just statutory compliance. We will work with Alyssa and her folks and also the Goodwin folks. We'll make sure that your mill levies are certified prior to the deadline of December 15th. And we'll make sure, and we'll work with council to make sure that we get your transparency notice and the other documents that are due by December 31st. We'll make sure that they're all filed with the appropriate entities, and then get your district budget, and that has to be filed by January 30th. So we're on track to meet all of those deadlines. Don't see anything that would hold any of those up.
Okay. That's good.
So that moves us into executive session. At this time, just need a motion and a second to move into executive session. And members of the public, if the board chooses to go into executive session, you're free and welcome to stay on board. We'll segregate the board and council to a separate meeting room. And then when executive session is complete, we'll come back and start the general session.
I move we go to executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Do we
Great.
need to say what, on the record, what we're going into it for?
I can just do that for the minutes if you want. If you want to call it out for the motion, we can.
We're going into it as stated in the minutes,
Or in the agenda.
in the agenda minute. I'm sorry, in the agenda, correct.
No
Item
worries.
20 on the agenda.
Okay. And I'll make sure that's accurately reflected in the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Just give me a couple of minutes here to start the breakout room. Cynthia, I'm going to put both of your machines on here because I'm not sure which one you're actually using.
Oh, you know, I could shut this other one off.
Oh, that's okay. Just making sure I've got everybody on. 1 second.
Congratulations, Al, for getting that through.
Thank you. It helps to have a few board members who are part of the decision-making process.
Yes, it was.
So one of the things we're going to need to address is getting a contract signed with these guys. And I assume that Town Center will be the signatory.
That would make the most sense. And I can do that.
Okay. We'll go over that.
The district manager could do it also. But since we're in a state of flux, maybe it just makes more sense for me to do it.
Okay. Well, we'll get together the next day or two and go over everything on it then.
Okay, good.
I have a question for you guys. Would there have been any, and I'm not sure the boundaries, the new, the Panera, that's not in Ebert, right?
That's correct.
So then on the other side of the street is the, Chipotle, is that what it is? Is that in Ebert?
If it's on the east side of Tower Road,
Yeah,
which it is, and the south side of 56th, it is.
so the UC Health Medical Facility and the Chipotle, shouldn't that have caused the tax revenue to go up? It went down in 25
Well,
for commercial.
so that parcel is debt service only.
Oh. So where do their taxes go?
The only taxes that they pay go to pay off the bonds. So they're not paying any of the mill levy that we send to Town Center to provide services.
I'm sure there's a good reason. Why is that?
We don't provide any services to that area either.
Yeah. So they went through a court procedure to get themselves exempted.
Okay, so water, electricity, I guess that wouldn't count, but okay. I was just thinking the commercial revenue, tax revenue went down. And I would have thought it would have stayed the same or maybe gone up. Did it go down because we get more on vacant land?
I couldn't tell you. I think that overall commercial property values have gone down. Because there's, well, we know
That's
that,
okay. That's all right. I just thought I'd ask.
yeah, I don't know. You know, you have to talk to the assessor's office about that to find out what's going on. So,
Nope, it didn't raise anybody else's eyebrows, so I figured it wasn't
yeah,
a real concern.
yeah.
And Lewis has a good handle on everything, so from a
Mhm.
treasury perspective.
Yeah, but there are some properties within Ebert that are classified as debt service only. And so the only taxes that they pay are the mill levy to pay off the bonds.
Okay.
And
Good.
there's a map that shows those areas. They're basically that one in the southeast corner of Tower and 56th. The properties that are west of Tower and south of Green Valley Ranch Boulevard,
Uh-huh.
that whole strip of you know, the car wash and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, those properties are debt service only.
okay.
That apartment project that's on Tower Road, about 45th, that's debt
Yeah.
service only.
Okay.
So fundamentally, there are some commercial properties that they filed a petition before the court to ask that they not participate in anything other than debt service, and that was approved. And I'm not sure exactly what the process is.
No worries. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anybody else on, but the three of us.
A couple.
Yeah.
Who said that? Who was that?
It's
Jeff is
me.
here.
It's Sabrina. Hi.
Oh, hey, Sabrina.
How are you doing this evening?
Good.
Good, good.
I see now Jeff is on and Chuck.
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Chuck.
And the rest of the district will play in Canasta
Uh-huh.
or at book club.
That's right. Natasha and somebody named Les left.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know who that was.
Uh-huh. Well,
Is that
I-
called the second computer?
yes, I heard that.
You would have thought they'd gotten their act together before they started.
I am going to leave, and Al, if anything miraculous happens when they come out of session, you can update me tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
I don't anticipate. I've stayed what? Sometimes we've stayed an hour or so and nothing.
Yeah, well, they're busy bad mouthing town center right now.
Oh,
Because town center doesn't have any money.
you held your own, Al. You did well.
Okay, well, if you hear anything, Deb, you can let me know tomorrow at our meeting.
No, I'm not going to be at the meeting tomorrow. I have another engagement. I wrote that maybe. Yeah, I wrote it in the thing today. Maybe I only sent Richard and Josie. But so take good notes is my answer to you.
I will certainly do so.
You always do. All right. Thanks, Chuck. All right.
Okay.
I'll talk to you guys.
Take
soon.
care.
Okay, bye.
So you got something recording the meeting, Sabrina?
I do. I have my Fathom note taker. It just records the meeting and takes notes so I can go back to it.
Does it transcribe it for you?
It does. It puts it in a nice little summary.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's a pretty good tool.
Yeah. Terrific.
Looks like we're still waiting for Catherine and Michael. There's Catherine.
And Michael's back too.
Yep.
Okay. So we've had a executive session. We were discussing transition matters. We are at a position at the last meeting, we had approved a consolidation agreement, and we had actually approved a consolidation resolution. That had to be approved by TCMD in order to go forward with a court proceeding to set an election for the consolidation. TCMD did not approve a consolidation resolution, sent back a red line version of the consolidation agreement that Ebert had approved. We have decided that on advice of counsel, that the red line version, essentially we've got a point where we need to have another task force meeting with TCMD. So our attorney is going to send a response back to TCMD's attorney and ask to set up a new meeting of the task force group sometime between now and Christmas. And then we're either going to have two separate meetings or maybe one joint special meeting between both boards, involving both boards, in either the week of January 6th or the week of January 13th, because that's the timeline that would need to be held, where we would both approve a consolidation agreement with language that we both agree on, and a joint and a resolution to hold a consolidation election. That would be to hold the election with the timeline that has to be done, because it has to go to court. The court has to approve it. Then there's a timeline for the approval process using the court system in order to have the election on May 6th. Doesn't mean we couldn't have a consolidation election at some other time, but that's the way to do it under the current timeline. But that's the only way we can do it at this point, and they're just too much to go forward and to respond to with regard to the red lines that TCMD put into the agreement. So we just have to have another transition task force meeting. And TCMD tells us that they want to go forward with consolidation, and we're taking them at their word. But in order for that to happen, we need to have another task force meeting, and we need to have, hopefully come up with a consolidation agreement that we can all agree on. And we'll hopefully hash that out at that task force meeting, and then come back and have a special meeting in early January. So that's where we are right now. I don't know if Evan wants to say anything. If I've
no, I think you've covered it adequately, Bruce.
Okay. If there's no other business, the next regular meeting is scheduled for March 4th of 2025. And like Bruce said, a special meeting will be called sometime in the first part of January. We'll get adequate notice out to everybody for that. With no other business, just need a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Outstanding. I'm sure no one's opposed, so we can stand adjourned at 9:10.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Night.
night.
Good night, all.
Thanks for attending.